you are watching the very first installment of Over the Back Fence, a conversation among neighbors. Today, there are four of us, including Jackie Pratt, Marion Bihari, Mary Pat McKenzie, and I'm Susan Laux. This is a production of Neighborhood Falmouth. Our first conversation is going to be about favorite things in Falmouth. And that can be a place, that can be an experience, it can be whatever you want it to be. So anyone want to start with a favorite part of Falmouth?
The beach.
The beach.
I absolutely love all of our beaches, some more than others. We happen to be lucky enough to have Racing Beach, but I absolutely adore Surf Drive beaches. And for many, many years when we moved here, we lived over nearer to there than we do now. And I would go down and do my laps from June through September between the stone jetties. There's nothing better. I would park my kids on the beach all day long.
You're a swimmer.
Yeah, and go to work late in the day at the market bookshop with wet hair. Bill used to go crazy because I always came in with wet hair because I had just got out of the water. I absolutely love that stretch of Falmouth. And of course, Woods Hole beaches and all of them, but really Surf Drive, you can't beat it.
Nice.
Beat it.
Nice.
Right.
Who else? Marion.
Well, while we're on the subject of beaches, when I first moved here in 2001, I started going to Woodneck Beach with two other friends who I met in my book club, which started not long after that. And I loved Woodneck. It was a beach where there weren't a lot of people, but as summers went by, it became more and more difficult to use the beach because there were so many rocks. And then after a while, I couldn't go in the water. There was no place to go. So then we switched over to Surf Drive, which is exactly what Mary Pat said. So the beaches are great. And that's one of the things I think about with Falmouth is the water. So that's one of the things.
Nice. You know, I was at Stony Beach. Oddly enough, I rarely go to the beach. I walk the dog, don't tell anyone, on the beach sometimes. But I don't, I never go to the beach to sit at the beach. And what was I going to say about this when you were saying about
Rocks.
About rocks? Oh my God. I'll let you know. I'll come back to it. So,
Yeah,
you're on mute,
Mute, you're Pat.
Woodneck used to be pure white sand. It was amazing. It was
Wow.
Absolutely, you could walk from, way, way out on, and when the tide was out, you had to walk out to even get deep enough to swim. But that was 25 years. After Hurricane Bob, it changed. It was great before Hurricane Bob. And then Bob.
Where did all the rocks come from?
Hurricane Bob. I don't know. And that's how we got so much poison ivy too. It's weird to think about that.
How about you, Jackie?
I'm when I first moved to Falmouth, my daughter was 6 and she was a little tiny girl and she was thin and she got cold easily, and between the jetties at Surf Drive Beach, it stayed warm. She loved that beach, and we did swimming lessons there. She very famously lost her bikini bottom there, and her mother had to go dive for it and walk around in a towel. But we loved that beach. And a big thing during the week was we would get the English muffin pizzas at the snack bar, or an ice cream bar, one or the other, as a big treat for the week. but it's a great beach. It really is. And but there were a lot of things that Bob changed. It used to have the most beautiful beach roses along the edges, and all of those disappeared or were down to very minimal.
Huh.
After Bob.
Huh.
Well, keep in mind that Bob came up high enough so it was up over the road. We were there. We walked from our house down to Surf Drive Beach after the hurricane.
Hmm.
We did too. It was amazing. It was absolutely astounding.
You know, I read recently that they're trying to decide whether to just get rid of those shore roads because they you know, sort of what the plan is. You know, do you create a lot more rock barriers and walls, or do you just turn it into a pedestrian spot? Do you let nature take you over? It's interesting. Interesting. Go ahead.
Isn't that one of the places that in 10 years, potentially with global warming, that would be underwater?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put my vote in for among favorite things in Falmouth library. I love our library so much, and I don't like, I mean, I completely understand that it's closed during COVID, but and I love ordering online and getting the books delivered out the door. But, going in and just browsing and picking up a few books, and it's like candy, and they're so nice in there, and they have a great e-newsletter that they send, and they actually even have, I started doing this, they have a person that's like, can be your personal book concierge. If you like click all these boxes of the kinds of things you'd like to read and give some examples of books that you've liked, they'll make some recommendations for you. And then they always say, and let us know whether these recommendations really worked or whether you need us to tweak it. So they want to be my book person, which is perfect.
Wow.
Jackie, do you do that? Because I know you get books from the library all the time.
Well, the thing is, there's one homebound. I get books delivered to my house, and I was distraught in the beginning because I thought, how am I going to use the library? I can't carry books, and I can put them on the back of the wheelchair, but I can maybe carry two. You can't carry that much weight on the back, or the seats tend to rip. So I thought, what am I? And there's a homebound librarian. And she comes, it depends on their scheduling, but every 2 to 3 weeks. And I give her a list, but she's a very good concierge. She quickly learned what I liked, and she's very often way ahead of me. I called to ask her to put me on the Barack Obama's book, and she said the minute they put a wait list out, I put you on it. I knew you'd want to read it.
Right.
Yeah. So she knows all sorts of intimate things about me. That's what I read, I think, probably.
And any good librarian should.
Yes. Let's not forget the book sale and the Friends of the Falmouth Public Library. What they do is amazing.
Yeah.
And that book sale, it doesn't matter how long you've lived here, you will see everybody you ever knew at the book sale on one day or another.
I swear there are times where I've bought back the same book that I donated, and I get the tote bag and on the final day and get, a bag full for $1 or whatever it is. Yeah. I look forward to having that back.
Yeah. My husband does that. And I take them out of his bag and put them back because they came from our house.
Right, exactly. Exactly. At least you paid for them a couple of times.
Yeah. My daughter's one of my daughter's shower presents came from the library book sale. It was a cookbook that was 50 ways to cook a chicken.
Nice.
Ironically, my husband collected cookbooks, and probably
your cookbook, right?
yeah, I don't cook. And so it must have been at least 8, 9 years ago, he decided he just, it was time to get rid of him. So he called the Friends of the Library and told them how many cookbooks he was donating. And I think it was over 700 cookbooks. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Many, many. And he couldn't get them there. Someone came here by car and donated. And then also, I don't know how many, he also donated records and they came and picked them up. So
Wow.
they have a great service if you have a large amount. So, but maybe the cookbooks that people bought were his. I don't know. He
Nice,
had a huge amount. They were all over, and he still has some.
nice.
I'll have to look and see if his name is in any of the ones that we have bought there.
I don't think he put his
Doesn't
name
put
in
his
it.
name in.
Yeah.
No,
in-
I think many, many years ago, I bought him the gourmet cookbooks and I had it inscribed on the outside, but he still
Yes.
has those. He didn't donate those.
Yeah.
But,
Other
Those
are
Falmouth
good.
favorites?
well, one of my favorite things is, and I don't think about it that much, is when I'm walking on Main Street, I think we have a beautiful town.
Yeah,
And it's charming and it's also friendly. And I came from New York in the suburb where we had a downtown, but it was just a bunch of stores. So one of the things that I liked the best when I came here, there's really a Main Street and you really can go into the shops. So that's one of the things that's so nice about this town is that there's almost a place that you feel you can congregate.
Yeah. I like that it's a very civically engaged town. I mean, the whole Woods Hole thing with the labs and, all the Nobel Prize winners and everyone's so smart and worldly. That I love. And people are really involved in politics and town government. I mean, not everyone, of course, but a lot of people are and sit on committees. Neighborhood Falmouth is a volunteer, uses volunteers. This town has lots of volunteers and people are very committed to supporting one another. And, you may be needing help in only one hand, but then you're volunteering help in the other hand and you volunteer for different organizations. It's pretty
Correct.
impressive, I think.
And it's a great way to meet people, to volunteer, because we left and we were gone for 20 years, even though my mother was here. So I was here once a month. But coming back and getting involved with Neighborhood Falmouth and getting involved with the different church and all kinds of things, you meet a whole different, even though there are people a lot of them are people who were here when we lived here before. But in those days, it was because, our kids were all friends or something. And then that you change, you have different circles or more circles, I guess.
Hmm. How about you, Jackie?
I kind of agree with the fact that this is a wonderful place for people, and I think I know volunteering probably saved me. The thing is that I didn't expect the health emergency that ended me up in a wheelchair, and
Nobody does, right?
yeah. I mean, because it was a big surprise and a big emergency, but I think that being able to be useful was real. All of a sudden became really important because I wasn't working. I felt like, and work definitely defined me. My daughter was in Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't around the corner. So, and she was very involved in a new relationship at that point. And it was, being able to contribute, find a niche and contribute. It's still really good. There
I
are
can
times.
interrupt here and say Jackie is like the secret sauce in Neighborhood Falmouth. She answers the phone a lot and it's such a help to everyone. So Jackie, you're kind of like our secret ingredient. So
Hmm.
anyways, thank you.
Well, keep in mind that I love researching stuff. So when people call up with a problem that isn't necessarily a neighborhood Falmouth one, you know I love going and finding out if there are resources. The nice thing is that there are tremendous resources around here. I think, you know, and when I think about all the people who help me on a regular basis, you know, homemakers that come in, transportation on my little bus, you know, I love it. And you don't see that everywhere. You know, my brother and I were talking about that. You know, and the truth is that I probably would not find the same sort of. I think there's been a lot of attention to detail of worrying about what's going to happen when our population gets older.
Mm.
And there, you know, there are a lot of services.
Yeah, there are a lot of services in this town.
Plus, Marion doesn't realize you make really good cookies for the meetings we have at your house.
That's true.
I wanted to say one thing. When I got here, I knew one other person. And on the recommendation of someone, I joined the Newcomer Club. And
Aren't they?
and to be very honest with you, it saved my life. And I've told them that. And I joined the group in 2002 and became a member of the board. And I met so many people that I would not have known had I not joined that group. And then at that time, after 5 years, you went on to the Encore group, which I'm still a part of. And I was president for 2 years. And again, some of us have been here over 20 some years, but we're still in the group. And it really was a wonderful way of meeting people. And to be honest, I said this before, that if I was still in New York and I would have looked at a newcomer group, I would have never joined.
Mm.
But this environment, it really helped me meet people and learn about Falmouth and the other towns around it.
Mm.
So I have to give a special thank you to that group.
Yeah. You know, you remind me that one other thing that I mean, there are a ton of things that I love about Falmouth. One among them is that you can drive somewhere in town and you can be trying to explore around and you can turn a corner and somehow there's a farm or somehow there's more houses on water and you thought you were in the middle of East Falmouth somewhere. And this is kind of an astonishing geography in terms of roads and neighborhoods, and there's just lots to discover. And there's still open land, there's big lots, you know, there aren't, you know, certainly there are McMansions and things like that and glorious on the water estates, but there's also just a real diverse, you know, you can get out in the country pretty fast here. And Falmouth is big geographically. We all know that. Yeah.
I mean, we have farms, although not when we first came here in the very early 80s. There were still strawberry farms on Davisville Road. I would take the kids to the U-Picks, and I think they ate as much as they picked to, you know, that you paid for.
Right.
Should be called You Eat.
Yeah, because at one time we were the strawberry capital of the country, and which like a long time ago. But there are still farms in Falmouth,
Right.
you know, and we have a farmer's market.
So within a mile of my house, there are 2 horse farms and the Coonamessett farm. So I can ride a horse and go get some lettuce if I'd like.
Nice.
Or ride a horse to get the lettuce?
Yeah.
Right.
You actually ride a horse? No.
Right.
Do you know how to ride, Marion?
No,
But you could.
I tried once when I was a kid. I almost fell off and I never went back on. So
Oh, okay.
That was the end of that.
Don't try to go get lettuce on a horse.
Okay, that will be a future episode of whether who's ridden a horse or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jackie, any others on your list?
Well, I do want to, I've got to admit the farmer's market again. Single mom raising my daughter, she announced at about 10 that she liked bologna, white bread, and iceberg lettuce, and that she didn't like vegetables. And but the thing is, at that time, the farmer's market was downtown, and I would drag her to Peg Noonan Park. And between what was at that time Barefoot Farms, it was the old it had been during the hippie era, it had been a commune from Falmouth. Yeah, the New Alchemy Institute.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And it became Barefoot Farms for a while, and they had these wonderful enchanting flowers, and she got sucked into that. And as soon as the lady who represented them and Tony Anders had heard about her objection to vegetables, they started collecting. We'd go and they'd have little paper bags with like a potato in the shape of a heart, or a blue potato, or pinwheel beets, all these oddball things that they thought might fascinate a child. And the thing is that she'd want me to cook her vegetables.
No.
For her, of course.
That's great.
Yeah, but it was like a, it's, you talk about secret weapons. It was amazing.
Stealth plan.
And because the last time she was here, she dragged me to the Coonamessett farm because they, she had a friend who stayed in Falmouth who had the membership, and she was a guest, and she dragged her mother. I discovered that I could only go to limited areas, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It was nice to be. It is beautiful, and she's a very healthy eater, and part of it is that she's a nurse and she worries about nutrition a lot. But she's a great eater. She's a very much a health educator to her patients. She talks, and this is the bologna, white bread, and iceberg lettuce kit. And it wasn't me. I'd run out of ideas to try to. It was definitely there were other people who had lots more interesting things than I had to offer. So I think that's one of the things I like about Falmouth is that there are so many people, and people are really nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're really nice.
It's a great community.
Remember the old saying, "Isn't Falmouth nice?" We had bumper stickers. And
I know. And it's so very true. I'll never forget my first outing out in the wheelchair. I had to get my hair cut, and it was a absolute necessity. And I went to Headlines, and they cleared space for me. But I had a little time before the little bus was going to come pick me up again. And so I rolled around a little bit, but then I had to come back up that little bit of an incline by Maxwell's. And I hadn't quite mastered inclines at that point. And luckily there were people who sort of took my wheelchair and pushed me up.
Wow.
Nice.
And I saw one of those columns in the Boston Globe where a person was complaining that people will often help her handicapped child, and she wanted to discourage that. And I wrote a letter to the editor and said, would you please think about this a little bit, because I probably would have been stuck at the bottom of that incline for several days if somebody hadn't helped me out.
Oh my goodness. Oh
But
my goodness.
I think it's amazing how nice people are.
Yeah.
And I go to the grocery.
helpful.
I go to the grocery store and people will stop in their tracks. I'll be there trying to figure out, there are 30 breakfast cereals here. What am I going to do? or 100 or however many there are in that particular store. And people will stop and say, can I help you? You know, you need to reach something. And
Right.
I don't know that that happens. In fact, I know very well it doesn't happen everywhere.
Nice.
You know,
Nice. Well, I think this has been a nice first effort at Over the Fence. And we'll wrap up for now. And our next episode, we'll be talking about our first car. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you will continue watching. And from all of us at Neighborhood Falmouth, thanks for joining us.